losing. Feel like he winning on the ground, but he really losing.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like or you dislike, or you just want to go ahead and drop a hot take on something you saw, leave us a quick take, 219-413-9405. And of course, we will play your take back on our next episode. And then shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code TheRunPodcast. Now, this code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website, so I don't know about you, but my Chicago Cubs and Detroit Tigers have been balling as of lately, so I will be in attendance. Bunch of other cool concerts and stuff is happening for the summer, so check those out as well and use that promo code. However, one of the biggest things that's been going on kind of in the basketball world is Damian Lillard. He's making his return to the Portland Trailblazers, and I'm happy for Dame, man. Obviously him going to Milwaukee for a couple years to play with Giannis Antetokounmpo, it didn't result in what a lot of us thought. Personally, myself, I definitely thought they would achieve some sort of playoff run and maybe at least one or two finals appearances with him going to go team up with Giannis. But obviously there was a lot of pieces that didn't necessarily just add up. I mean, injuries was a toll. Giannis was hurt at one point. Dame obviously just went down with his big time injury. It was a lot of pieces that was absent. They didn't find a groove early on because the whole Middleton situation, he was struggling to kind of fit in with Dame at one point. Like, it was a lot of things going on where it was slightly dysfunctional when Dame got added to that roster in Milwaukee. But all of that stuff is over with the Bucks and Dame. He is headed back to Portland, and I'm happy for Dame that he's going back to Portland because the Portland Trailblazers actually have kind of a squad when you think about it, and when you look at the roster over there. So not only for Damian Lillard is this like great because, he's spent a large majority of his career there. He obviously has a lot of fans, and that's where he kind of gained his stardom, is playing in Portland. But the Trailblazers, they got some talent outside of Dame. The first thing I think about is Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday and Damian Lillard, front court, back court, I think is going to be dangerous. Now, you got to keep in mind, too, before you think about Jrue playing with Damian Lillard is still probably not going to be playing next season because he's coming off an ACL injury. So keep in mind, the Blazers 1,000% need Jrue Holiday to be ball dominant and do his thing, lead that team up until at least Damian Lillard can come back. And maybe they trade him. Maybe they try and make it work with both of them. But I still think that's a good direction to have. And if anything, at least Dame is in a comfortable situation and he's amongst a fan base and within the organization that can help them grow. He can bring his presence. And I mean, he's been around the league for some time at this point. So I think it's safe to say that Damian Lillard can definitely give some solid advice to the young guys who are on the team. And then when I think about other people over there, obviously we know they got Scoot Henderson still. They still got a lot of bigs, man. Oh my gosh, Robert Williams over there. Now the whole Ayton situation, that ain't it no more. But you still got Jeremy Grant. So you have talent over there in Portland. And initially, when you hear a guy like Damian Lillard is coming back, a lot of people immediately assume, like, all right, bet we're going to the playoff dreams and all of that. But something that stands out to me, aside from Dame going to Portland and the roster and all of that, is the fact that Dame somehow is collecting two bags from two different teams. I am astonished, and I just applaud to his agent because he's collecting two bags from two different teams. Now, the Bucks, they waived Damian Lillard, so they still have to pay him a large amount of money. And obviously, the Trailblazers are bringing him there, even though he's coming off an injury. So he still just collected another bag off the Trailblazers. So a report from Shams, he recently kind of clarified the whole thing. So Lillard, now he'll have the whole 2025-2026 season with a set salary of $70 million between his Portland Trailblazers deal and the Milwaukee Bucks deal. Now, the salary of $141 million that was with the Milwaukee Bucks is still going to be over the next 2 years, but ahead of an opt-out in 2027. So this is just crazy. He's still collecting a major bag. And I mean, above all, I think Dame is definitely going to be content that, hey, I'm playing in the league still. I signed another contract and I'm collecting a bag. And even if it is with the Portland Trailblazers where he goes somewhere and he's not about to win a ring, I think at this point, man, it's safe to say, like, hey, if you go to the Blazers, you finish out your career there. I mean, a lot of people will tip their hat off to it. A lot of people will respect that Dame held it out and stuck it out for so long with the Portland Trailblazers at times where they weren't bringing pieces, in times where they weren't really doing a good job, surrounding some folks around him to help him out. So, I'm happy for Dame above all, and I think it's very interesting that he's collecting 2 bags, obviously, but above all, I don't know what the master plan is for the Trailblazers, and I think this can probably send them in a positive direction above all, just because you still have Dame. He'll come back healthy at some point. And whether he's the same version of himself or not, the guy can shoot, so he'll still be effective in the game at some point. But I think for the Trailblazers, you definitely want to continue to build, keep Jrue Holiday while Dame is injured, and then maybe you can kind of play those two together when Dame comes back. But above all, they have to continue to hit the draft hard. I don't think anything is going to stem from a Dame return from the Portland Trailblazers. Like, I highly doubt they end up going to the finals and all of that over the next 3 to 4 years. But, I mean, this is a stepping stone where you still have somewhat of a direction you can go into, where a lot of teams don't have that. So it's something to build from. And I'm not opposed to the Dame return. I love it. And I think he retires here. I think it's it. I think it's it for Dame. And nothing is wrong with that, man. I respect it. Dame may never really went on no ring chasing type of thing. Some people could argue that when he was in Milwaukee, that was him chasing a ring. But I think, with Dame heading back to Portland, man, that's amazing for him. That's where he solidified his stardom. That's where he gave a lot of buckets and earned the respect of a lot of players around the league and a lot of fans around the league. So I'm happy that Dame is returning there. And above all, as long as the Portland Trailblazers continue in the right direction of building through the youth and putting certain pieces together and just have a direction, they'll be okay. They'll be all right. Other than that, man, that's all I got. So it's halftime. We're going to come back. We got some more stuff, too, because Chris Paul, man, he recently announced his farewell tour with the LA Clippers, and I think it's time that we have a conversation about Chris Paul. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. It's halftime. We'll be right back. All right, so let's get into it, man. As I recently mentioned, Chris Paul is making his farewell tour to the LA Clippers in his final season. So I'm excited for Chris Paul. I think this is well deserved. He does get a farewell season. But the biggest question here for him is, obviously, he's played a lot of time in the NBA. This is the guy who's played just about over 20 seasons in the NBA. And we got to rank Chris Paul and understand if he's really a top 5 point guard of all time. Because there's a lot of generations when we talk about Chris Paul of how good he is. And we've seen some people like myself, we've seen the early stages of Chris Paul. You got a lot of guys who kind of seen the back end of Chris Paul, which is about now in the previous 5 years of him going team to team to team to team and just getting crossed by Steph Curry and all type of stuff like that. So we got a lot of different age groups of Chris Paul, and now we have to figure out and distinguish if he is a top 5 guard. So right off the back, man, you got to hear everything he's done, because some people really forget how elite this guy is when we talk about CP3, the point guard, Chris Paul. 5-time leader in assists. He is a 6-time leader in steals in the NBA, 9-time all-defensive team, 11-time NBA All-Star, Rookie of the Year. He won MVP in 2012, 2013. Like, this is a guy, he's on the 75th anniversary team, top 100 players or top 75, whichever one they chose that year. But this is a guy who has made his way around the league and established all of the credentials from his elite play. 12-time All-Star. The only thing you can say about Chris Paul is that he has not gotten a ring, which a lot of people thought was deserved. However, with or without the ring, I still say Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard without a single doubt. Now, I don't even want to get extremely analytical, but from the standpoint of understanding the game, this already sets Chris Paul away from a lot of other guards who may have him beat in scoring or have him beat in height in other areas of the game. But IQ, Chris Paul is already top 5. He's top 5 in assists of all time. He's top 5 in steals of all time. Number 2 in both, right behind John Stockton, and nobody's catching John Stockton. So if you've seen Chris Paul in the early days, you know he really did play defense. He was an on-ball defender. He was solid for the most part. And we obviously know anybody who still watches Chris Paul today can tell that the man can still pass the ball and find the open target. So those things alone for me is good enough to say Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard of all time, from the way he understands the game, from the way he facilitates, from the way he used to play defense, and from the way he presented himself as a leader and could actually help the flow of the basketball game from a point guard standpoint. This is a true point guard, in my opinion. Chris Paul, he's a top 5 point guard. I know there's a lot of names, because here's where it gets tricky. So a lot of people going to have some arguments because you bring up Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, guys like SGA, a lot of newcomers in the league. You throw some people in there of like, all right, I don't know if Chris Paul is better than this guy. And there are certain elements where Chris Paul may not be better than certain people. You may compare a Damian Lillard. We just finished talking about Damian Lillard. So if you do want to compare Chris Paul to some of these other guards that may be top 5, you have to do a full evaluation. You can't just say, oh, well, Steph Curry can shoot better than Chris Paul, so he got him beat in the top 5. Or Damian Lillard is a better shooter, so he's got him beat. Or he can score better, so he's better. And like you got to do a full evaluation from a point guard perspective. How well can he get his teammates involved? How well can he control the offense? How well can he control the pace? How well can he find defenders and find out other ways to beat a defense from a creative standpoint with the ball in his hands? So this is like some of the things and the examples I think of. So I hear the Magic Johnson. I have Steph Curry in the top 5. Some people don't. I got Chris Paul in there. I got Isaiah Thomas in there. And that 5th slot is up for debate. And a lot of people can go a lot of different ways. But when we talk about point guards, Chris Paul is definitely in there, regardless of who you have at that 5 spot, whether he's 5 or someone else is 5. But I'll leave that 5th slot open, but I'm for sure throwing Chris Paul in there 1 through 5 somewhere, regardless of any era that you want to add in, guys. Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas, and Magic Johnson, Steve Nash, Jay Kidd, all of the eras, combine them all. I'm throwing Chris Paul in there because this man, if you have a point guard, you want him to understand how the game is supposed to be played, you will have someone like Chris Paul be an example of, look how he orchestrates the offense. Look how he sets the pace. Look how smart he is with the ball. So to me, on this level, Chris Paul got a lot of people beat just because, one, of the IQ standpoint, and then also two, he was, come on, man, we can't play around here. We can't play around when we talk about scoring. We can't play around. Now, I know Chris Paul is mainly known for passing, facilitating, all of these other things. But when we talk about scoring, man, we can't sit here and act like Chris Paul wasn't him when scoring the ball and scoring at will. Like, we can't sit here and act like he couldn't go get a bucket at any time he really wanted to. And maybe I need to just pull up some Chris Paul highlights and put it on his clip. But at the end of the day, bro, he was getting up there when he was a small guard. We seen him dunk on people. He caught a couple of bodies. We seen him score on anybody at will, made any defender look silly. He was a hard person to guard and a hard point guard to guard at one point. So although he has gotten old and a lot of people forget of how talented he was offensively and defensively, you got to remember, you compare the SGAs, the Damian Lillards, the Jay Kidd, Steve Nash, a lot of other solid scoring guards in the league right now. You got to remember, man, Chris Paul was once one of the elites at scoring the ball as well. It wasn't his go-to because that wasn't what he looked to do. If he needed to score to help the offensive flow, he would do it. If he needed to facilitate to help the offensive flow, he would do that. And not every guard who can score better than him has that understanding of when to score and when to try to score. And also when trying to do those things, how to protect the ball. Like, come on, man. So to me, yeah, I easily give Chris Paul a top 5 conversation. Some honorable mentions there. It's a great amount of point guards that you could throw into this conversation, which is why personally I love it. But man, it's a huge amount, because some people could argue Rondo. I don't think Rondo's top 5. First off, let me clarify that. I don't think Rondo is top 5, but from an IQ standpoint, Rondo has a lot of people beat from what he can do with the basketball and just his understanding of the game. Some people argue Russell Westbrook and what he did early on in his career. Some people, hell, still even argue Derrick Rose as a top 5 point guard. But for me, no, man, I gotta go. Chris Paul is in there on his farewell tour, and I'm happy for him, man, because this dude, I'm ready for it. First of all, I've been ready for him to retire for some time. I thought he should have retired when Dwayne Wade retired because it's been too long. He hasn't been extremely effective in the back end of his career like now. So I thought he should have been retired. So I don't know, man, but I'm excited to see this farewell tour. I doubt he does anything where it's like, he's wowing us every time. But yeah, man, that fifth slot, it's hard not to go like a John Stockton or even if you want to go even further back, a person could go Jerry West. Some people may say Kyrie, even though I think Kyrie is more of a 2 guard. But, a lot of people go back and forth. Oscar Robinson is in it. You got to have that conversation. So for me, out of all the legends who have played the game in the past, present, and maybe even in the future, but all throughout Chris Paul's luxurious career, Chris Paul is definitely a top 5 point guard to me, from the way he understands the game, from the way that he can distribute, score at will at one point, and also play in defense, man. This dude is second in steals all time. He's second in assists all time. His understanding of the game, it sets him apart from a lot of other people. So to me, Chris Paul is 1,000% top 5, and we can't act like he couldn't score the ball just as good as a lot of guys today when Chris Paul was in his prime. He dunked on people. He caught bodies. He made threes. He could create a shot at any time and score on anybody, and also throw a nice lob or a dime to a center down low to get the easy bucket. So I think he's definitely top 5. The other people in that conversation, obviously Magic, Isaiah Thomas. I'm going Steph Curry in there, and this is no specific order, but Chris Paul got to be in there. And then that fifth slot, maybe you go John Stockton, maybe you go Jerry West, maybe you go Oscar Robinson. Oh, I think Oscar Robinson probably got it. If for the fifth slot, I think Oscar Robinson probably got it. But true point guard, Chris Paul is 1,000% top 5. And it's nothing anybody can ever say to me to convince me otherwise. I would love to hear something. If somebody got something where you like, ain't no way Chris Paul going top 5. I'm not standing for it. He's not top 5. We putting Dame in there. We putting Steve Nash in there. We're putting J Kidd in there. All right, well, please let me know why you say that, because I can't think of a single reason throughout his career and everything he's done. And I'm someone who's watched Chris Paul from like early on in his career, Charlotte Hornet days when he was him, rookie of the year days. Like, to me, there's no, man, I haven't forgot how elite this man was. So I got to know, if you don't have Chris Paul top 5, why you ain't got him top 5? Second in assists behind John Stockton, second in steals. This is some stuff. It's not getting touched. Because J Kidd is done playing. Steve Nash is done playing. Them the only people who could have caught him. Westbrook is still going, but Westbrook got some ways away, so it ain't happening. Anyway, look, man, last little update here. I got to give you guys an update on the top 5 baseball movies. So I checked out a couple of them. Some baseball movies I did look at over the past week. You guys, a lot of people recommended for the top 5 baseball movies that I'm putting together to go watch. Bull Durham, Field of Dreams. Some people also was saying For the Love of the Game. But there's a lot more that I need to still watch. But for this top 5 list, so far, I've watched Field of Dreams this past week. That's the most recent one I watched. I watched Mr. 3000 again just to kind of get a feel for everything. For the Love of the Game. Next up is Bull Durham. However, bro, why is Kevin Costner in every baseball movie? I can't escape Kevin Costner in a single baseball movie. This man, For the Love of the Game, he's in there. I didn't really think that one was the best. Debatable, whatever. I also was misled into that movie. Anyway, For the Love of the Game, Bull Durham, he's in that one. Still got to watch it. But I watched Field of Dreams. And Kevin Costner is in everything. But Field of Dreams, I loved it. I gotta admit, man, that Field of Dreams is gonna be a hard baseball movie to top. And right now, I know I haven't watched all of the recommendations that people mentioned, but I really don't think Field of Dreams is gonna be beat. To me, that one's already top 3, and I haven't seen the rest on the list. But Field of Dreams was a beautiful movie, man. That was a beautiful, like hey man, you know, your allergies might start acting up if you watch Field of Dreams. Your allergies might start acting up. That's all I can say. But that was a beautiful movie. But I love that one. I think that one's going to be a very tough film to beat when I'm talking about top 5 baseball movies. But Bull Durham is next. I'm going to watch that one next. For the love of the game, I don't think that one's going to make the cut. I don't know if Mr. 3000 is going to make the cut either. But there's a couple films, baseball films, that I don't know if they'll make the cut. But right now, Field of Dreams is the most recent one I watched. I think that one's up there. I also got to watch Major League. I got to watch The Rookie or something like that. You guys put it in the comments. It was super helpful to see that. Thank you, too. That was super helpful. So I'm excited for this. Next up is Bull Durham. And Kevin Costner, man, I don't know how the hell Kevin Costner is in every movie that's related to baseball. And also even football. He was in Draft Day, too. So Kevin Costner, he might be a GOAT for that, because I wanted to be tired of watching him, but I'm like, damn, he is really doing a good job in all of these films. So I'm loving it, but we'll see. Bull Durham is next on that list. And other than that, man, I'm gonna leave y'all with a positive note here and let y'all go. The positive note today is just gonna be have faith in whatever you're trying to attain, man. So if you did set that goal for yourself, and you set it out to do that, have faith. You got to have that confidence behind you that it might not happen today, it might not happen next year, the year after that. But just continue to keep faith that it's going to happen. As long as you don't quit and as long as you continue to push forward, it's going to happen. Like, that's literally the only thing stopping you and whoever else is doing the same thing, or whoever else had already done that. It's just, will you keep going and keep doing it? Because at some point, it's bound to get to the goal that you're trying to get to. So I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Other than that, I appreciate you guys for kicking it with me. We will be back later on this week. It's the off season, so it's a lot of slow time. So I'm gonna try and bring in back some baseball because, you know, my Tigers, oh my gosh, Scooble, he had a hell of a game the other day. 7 strikeouts in the first 3 innings or something like that. Man, he was killing it. But Tigers been killing it. So I'm gonna try and, you know, bring back some topics on Tigers, Cubs and stuff. But we'll see. We'll see. Don't quote me. It's the off season, so anything can really happen in the off season. All right, man. I'm up out of here. I'll see y'all later on next week, and so on and so on and so